All right, now we're in a completely different part of the studio, and we're going to do a different setup. We have Stevie helping us on this shot, and we're going to do kind of a lifestyle portrait. And my first thought, of course, is to use natural light. We have so much natural light in here, but the problem is it doesn't look as bright as it does, especially on video. It's not nearly as bright in here as you'd think, and most of the light is coming from behind her. Now, there is a little bit of side light here, but it's just not great. And if I want to shoot her in this position, the lighting's going to be probably pretty low. Let's go ahead and take a test shot. I'm using my 70-200 lens. My ISO is set at 200, so we'll get nice, crisp images as far as noise goes. We're shooting in aperture priority mode, probably going to be about f8, something like that. And let's just go ahead and take a test shot real quick, and let's just see where we are. All right, well, the image, it doesn't look terrible, but it's pretty dark. It's probably a stop or two underexposed. So we're going to have to create our own light in here. But the deal is if we bring in a flash, you don't want it to look like you just blew a flash into her face. You don't want it to look like it's overpowering the light that's there. If you're going to use flash right, it's got to kind of mix in and balance with the ambient light that's already in the room or the available light that's in the room. So your first inclination, okay, let's grab a flash. All right, we're going to start off, and I'm going to show you the progression of what we're going to do. Because just putting a flash, an external flash like this is, in this case, it's a Nikon SP100, but it can be a Canon Speedlight, doesn't make any difference. Just putting this and adding this on here, it is going to add flash, but it's not going to add directional flash. Let me show you what the problem is. Let's go ahead and mount it on here. I'm going to switch now. When I use a off-camera flash, I switch to manual mode. All right? So we're just going to switch to manual mode. Now, there's one rule we have to do about the shutter speed. The shutter speed is the easiest thing to set in the world on here. You want to set it no more than 1/250th of a second. I usually start at 1/125th of a second. I know that's a very safe zone. If I get above that, the flash is going to put kind of a dark bar along the bottom if I get above 1/250th of a second. So you do have kind of a ceiling. And the lower the shutter speed, the more ambient light we're going to get. So I'm going to start off with 1/125th of a second. That's kind of my basic starting place. And I'll usually start at like f5.6. So that's kind of my starting point for working with flash. 1/125th of a second at f5.6. Now, again, the flash is right here on the top of the camera. Let's just go ahead and take a shot of Stevie here. And let me lock it down so it doesn't come falling off on me. Let's just take a test shot here. Here we go. Oh, okay, well, that's the problem. It just kind of blew a lot of light into her, and it doesn't look very good. It's not directional because I'm aiming straight at her. So the first thing you think is, well, how can we make the light softer because it's very, very harsh? Well, the first thing you would do is to add a diffusion cap. So the diffusion cap, this probably came with your camera. If you didn't, you can buy these. You can go to B&H Photo or wherever. You can actually buy these little replacement caps. And I'm going to just attach it to the front of the flash here. So what this is going to do, it helps to soften and spread the light a little bit. Let's see what that does. Now let's go ahead and take another shot here and see if that helps any. Okay, it did help. It took the harshness down a bit. It's not great. It's okay. So the next thing, if you really want to take this to the next level, you could try to bounce it. So now, we do luckily have a white ceiling. You can really only do this trick if you have kind of a white ceiling or a lighter colored ceiling, because whatever color the ceiling is, the light is going to reflect that color. So if this was a red ceiling and I reflect the light up to the ceiling to bounce it off the ceiling and down onto our subject, that light is actually going to pick up that red and she's going to look a little reddish. We got lucky in this case that the ceiling's white. Let's bounce it off the ceiling. So take a look at what we're going to do. The light's going to leave the flash. It's going to head up to the ceiling. It's going to hit there, it's going to bounce and spread, and it's a very, very popular technique. You see a lot of wedding shooters shooting this. Let's go ahead and try a little bounce flash. Let me tip it up a little more so I can see that it kind of bounces back down to her, and let's see how this looks. Okay, that's not bad. It's getting better, but it's really not where we want to be. Again, the light that's falling on her is just kind of flat. And we would like the light to come from one direction or another. So if I have to figure out which direction in this room I would go, well, we have a light coming from that direction already. There's already some shadows on the floor. I would set up the light on the left side of our subject. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this light off the camera. And this is the key. Let me just unlock it. It comes a lot easier off if you unlock it. The key is getting this light off the camera. That is the secret, because that way I can position it to one side of my subject, and then they're going to get directional light. Once we get that done, we're going to look at different ways to soften it, and then finally how to mix it with the ambient light in the room to where it doesn't look like you use a flash. It looks like she's well lit, it's directional, it's a nice looking shot, but you don't really go, oh, that was done with the flash, it's blowing everything out. All right, so first thing we need to do is get a light stand. I like to use very inexpensive light stands for pop-up flash. Usually it's a 6-foot stand. This one is a Luma Pro, but you can use any kind of brand. We also use a lot of Manfrotto stuff. So let's go ahead and just open the stand here. And you're thinking, is he going to make me watch him build the stand? Yes, I am. Because I told you you're going to see everything from beginning to end, and that means all of the awful stuff too. So, but luckily, setting up one of these stands just takes a moment. They do go as high as 6 feet. Now, how high are we going to position this flash? We're not going to, she's sitting down, so we're not going to position this thing way up in the sky. In fact, I think this one's actually 7 foot. We're not going to position it up very high. We're actually going to position it pretty low. Let's go ahead and get the flash. And there's a little bar here to hold it on. Let's make sure it really works. Make sure that this thing is really good and tight. I can't tell you how many times, if you don't get it tight, it will come flash, it will fly right out on you. All right, and then what you want to do is you want to make sure you're aiming it at the subject. So we're going to tilt this back down and aim it at the subject. So now, if I do nothing more than I've done right here, which is mount it to a stand, and you're going to have to trigger this somehow, but if just mounting this on the stand and moving it to one side of her, the quality of the light and the quality of your picture goes way up. Now, I have to trigger this somehow. I want it to be a wireless flash. There's a number of different ways you can do this. If you buy another light, either 2 Canon speed lights or 2 Nikon speed lights, when you put them onto, you can have one be the remote and one be the master. So this would be the wireless remote. I would place this somewhere over here. And in this case, we're going to put this a little bit lower. All right? So we've got the light on here. I need to be able to trigger this wirelessly, so when I fire my camera, it fires this flash. This still isn't going to be great, and you'll see why in just a moment, but we did take another step forward. So let's just look. Camera on flash was horrendous. Put the diffuser on, it got a little bit better. Bounced it off the flash, it got a little bit better. Now we've got it off to the side. This is going to be a little bit better, but it's not still where we want to be, because we're going to have to soften it next. But let's talk about triggering again. So you can trigger it with another flash unit. You can buy a little module that controls it, and both Nikon and Canon and some of the other flashes make a commander unit that you can use that will fire it wirelessly, or you can use pocket wizards, which are very, very popular for doing this. With a pocket wizard, you actually take one of these remotes, these babies right here, and you attach it using this little wire that comes with it. This little cable actually comes with your pocket wizard. Let's hold it up so you can see it there. This actually comes with the pocket wizard. It attaches to your flash. You're going to need 2 of these, one for the flash, the other one goes on top of your camera. So let's go ahead and install this. There's a little socket on the side of the camera. Let me turn it so you can see it. There's a little socket right here. You're going to install it right in here. So let me go ahead and just put this right inside of here. All right, that's the entire installation process right there. Now, the nice thing about these is when you get a pocket wizard, they come with this little strap, and I hang this right off the pole. Now, so what is this? This actually is an extra add-on. I recommend that you get this. They make them for both Canon and Nikon, and basically what it is, it's an extra battery pack. The only reason why you like these is because these are run off regular AA batteries. So what happens is you'll fire, and then you have to wait a moment for it to recycle. And then it'll beep, beep, and then you know it's ready to shoot. By the way, how'd you like the sound effect? Beep. Okay, anyway. So you have to wait for it to recycle. What this does is it lets it recycle faster. That's all it really does. So that way you can go flash, 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 not flash, wait, wait, flash, wait, wait. So if you're really in the zone and stuff, then you can use this to speed up how many you shoot. We're not going to attach this right now, but that's what this does. And it also, we just have it, you just strap it on here and it just hangs right on the stand. Now, let's go ahead now that we've done this and just take a test shot. Oh, one more thing you're going to want to do. So we're going to set this one to remote. Well, actually, you don't have to set this to remote. You would only set this to remote if you're firing from another flash. One will be set to master, one will be set to remote. In this case, we're going to use the pocket wizard, so all we have to do then is put the pocket wizard on top of the camera. So let me go ahead and do that. So here's the other one. Remember, you got to have 2. One for the flash, one for the camera. Let's slide this on here and lock it down and turn it on. All right, now, when I fire her, you can actually do a test. If you press the test button, see how it fired the flash over there? Let's take a look. When I press the flash button, the test button on the back, it fires. So that's all it needs to do. That's all this little unit does, is fire that flash. All right, now let's take another shot. We are in manual mode because I'm using flash. We're going to be at 1/125th of a second at f8. And let's take a shot. All right, ready, Stevie? Here we go. Let's take a look. Okay, it is better. We finally now have directional flash. It's kind of harsh directional flash, but at least it's directional. So now that we have light coming from one direction, it looks more natural, it looks better, but it's still not really soft. Because that diffusion dome by itself just isn't going to do the job. We need to go one step further. But what we need to do is we need to put something in front of it. You can put either a small soft box in front of it, or the most economical way is to buy one of these umbrellas. These are shoot-through umbrellas, and that's really important about this, because what we're going to do is we're not going to bounce the light out of an umbrella. If you've seen umbrellas used before, if you've ever been on a cruise ship and things, you'll always see them with a couple of umbrellas as they're taking portraits, and they'll generally will shoot the flash in, and then it returns back to their subjects. And I don't like that. I always kind of call that a light grenade, because it seems like the light just goes everywhere. Here, we're going to shoot actually through this. So we have a little swivel adapter, and so when you buy your stand, you want to buy not just a stand, but an umbrella swivel adapter. That way it will actually hold your umbrella. Let's open the umbrella. It will actually hold the umbrella. There's a little mount right here where the umbrella slides into. And I usually keep it about 18 inches away, something like that. And then, so think about this. I'm trying to mimic natural light. So what you want to do is you want the light, natural light would be coming from above, right? The sun is usually above. Except for at sunset, but it's usually above us, and then it comes down at an angle. So what I would do is let's just tilt this down a little bit, and let's go back and look at our subjects and see how high to position this. I might have made it a little bit too low. Let's take a look. Yeah, it might be just a little low. Look at where the flash is firing. It's kind of aiming right at. Well, let's just bring it up. I might bring it up another 6 or 8 inches. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's just bring it up a little bit higher. And you notice I'm positioning it kind of off and to the left. All right, just off and to the left a little bit. Now, we're going to take a test shot and see how it looks. Now, again, we're firing from the flash right through the reflector onto our subject. Let's take a quick shot and see how it looks. Okay, now we're getting a really nice mixture. Now it really looks realistic. You don't really see the flash. So when you're taking the shot, look at it and say, am I really seeing the flash? Now, if I want to make it softer, I've got 2 more tricks for you that'll help make this softer. Number 1 is to actually move the flash closer to your subject. Actually pick it up and move it closer. Let's go ahead and do that now, and this will help. So we're just going to bring it in and move it in closer to your subject. I try to get it as close as I can without actually being in the frame. So let me look over here. I think we'll probably be okay. The second thing is what's called feathering the light. Right now the light is aiming directly at her. We're just going to face it a little bit away from her so the light isn't aiming directly at her. It's kind of skimming here. So watch. All you would do here is just move the light a little bit this way. It's almost like you're kind of shooting past her. Now, 2 things just happened. What happens when I move the light closer to the subject? The light gets brighter, right? So, but at the same time, I just turned the light away from my subject. So you have to take a test shot and see what it looks like. And by the way, it's digital. Don't be afraid to take a test shot as these things are happening. So let's go ahead and take a shot here and see what this looks like now that it's skimmed. You know, it could be actually a little bit dark where I've skimmed it now. I might bring it back up to 1/4, but let me see. Actually, it looks pretty good. The ambient mixes pretty well with it right now where it's at, so I don't really want to move it. I do want to change one thing. I'm shooting down on my subject. I'm standing up and shooting down at her, and it's not a very flattering position. So what you want to do is I would want to be down low, shooting kind of at her eye level for someone seated like this. Now, you can also shoot, it is okay to shoot from a position like this, but I would actually almost want to be maybe a foot taller. So sometimes you'll see photographers standing on a box that they call them either soap boxes or soap crates. There's all kinds of names for them, but literally you can buy them from camera stores. It's a piece of wood. So it's a big box that you stand on that gets you up higher. But in this case, I would probably actually get down on one knee or sit in a chair and then fire from right here. All right, let's take a couple of shots. I'm going to back out a little bit So I get just a little bit of her knee and all that in there, and just one more. There we go. I think we've got it. All right, so that's kind of a good way for you to go from really, really harsh light and now controlling your light. That's really, really important, and this is a very inexpensive way to go by either buying 1 or 2 flash units and the Pocket Wizards. Also, you don't have to use the Pocket Wizards. If you have a camera that has a built-in pop-up flash, you can set your pop-up flash not to actually be a flash, but to be a trigger for the other flash unit. So like for example, if you have a Nikon SB900, you can trigger it using the pop-up flash on your camera. It pops up, you turn off the flash itself and switch it to commander mode. And what that does, it sends out what's called a light pulse. It looks like it's lighting your subject, but it's not. It just goes like a half a foot. But it goes enough to trigger the other flash, so you can do that. So you really only need, if you have a camera that has a pop-up flash on it, a Nikon that has one of the pop-up flashes, you can trigger the whole thing right from your camera without having to have a second flash. All right, guys, there you go from beginning to end on still a very, very simple, inexpensive way to get flash that looks good in your ambient surroundings.